is Justice for the Rohingya, featuring Wai Wai Nu. And Wai Wai Nu will share how she emerged from 7 years as a political prisoner in Burma to work for democracy and human rights, particularly on behalf of marginalized women and members of her ethnic group, the Rohingya. So Wai Wai, if you are able to come on video and unmute yourself, the stage is yours. Okay, we can see you, Wai Wai, so go ahead and try to speak.
Yes, thank you. Thank you very much, Keel, and thank you. Together we remember David and everyone involved for inviting me for this opportunity. It's been incredible to hear all of your story from all of you from previous speakers. My heart goes with you and your people. It's incredible. It's just incredible. I can't describe with words. With hope as well as with disappointment and you know, disappointment and anger towards the leaders of the world and towards the perpetrators, and also a reminder that we need to work stronger, harder, and we need to work together to end sufferings of our peoples. So I just want to say thanks to you all, and thank you. I hope that we still have energy to continue to listen to my story. I promise I'll try to be as light as possible, given the gravity of the suffering and situations of the people. So yeah, so my story. I would like to start saying, you know, where I was born and how I grew up. So I was born in Rakhine State, which also called as Arkan, which is a state. If those of you who doesn't know, which is a state in western Myanmar, border with Bangladesh. I was born there. I grew up there until I was 9 years old. And then we moved to Yangon, which was the capital city of Myanmar. So when I grew up in Rakhine State, we were very isolated. We only, when we talk about like communications or exposure, the most we would have is a radio. That was like 25 years ago or 30 years ago. That was the situations, and until we were younger, we didn't even have television, TV. So we grew up in very isolated state of Myanmar. And many of us, many other ethnic communities in Myanmar were isolated similarly. But when I grew up, I think it was 5 years, I was 6 years old when my father was taken away in front of me, and I was crying, you know, calling at me, my father, to come back when he was taken away by police and put into this police truck, and he spent over a month there. Luckily, he was released. It was horrifying as a kid to witness how my father was arrested. I was actually because of his political involvement, but then over time, I've witnessed my uncles were chased by the police and my brothers were chased by the police. And I've heard stories of women being raped. As a young kid, I didn't understand what was going on there. And we moved to Yangon, which is the capital city at that time in Myanmar. And I grew up there. I was constantly hearing the stories. It's even worse. It's get worse. Like people, our relatives were calling us and sharing their stories, how their boys and sons were taken for reporters, and how people were arbitrarily arrested and never came back, and how extrajudicial killing was happening among their families and relatives, and women would get like raped in front of their husbands or their fathers in the village. And there were people had to get permission to get married, and there was restrictions on giving birth. We cannot the Rohingya women cannot give birth more than two child. There was a two-child policy that they put in place. If they don't follow this two-child policy, and they can be penalized for 3 years to 5 years of imprisonment. And if a children born out of two-child policy, the children will be listed as blacklist. So basically mean this child does not exist on the earth, and his or her name is not anywhere in the hospital or in the school, or he would not get any social services, let alone any, later on getting other rights as human. And so there's many other form of severe form of tortures and abuses and discriminations that I have I was hearing since I was very young, but I didn't understand the complexity behind it, why it is happening. We were under military dictatorship. We thought it was a form of military's behavior against its populations, and it's happened everywhere. But then when I was 18 years old, my father was arrested, and 2 months later, the rest of us 5 family members were arrested. I was a lost student at that time, just finished my high school, and then that was the time I started to realize how my identity, is playing in our life. My father was a pro-democracy activist politician. He was a political leader who allied with the current leader of the country, Aung San Suu Kyi, a Nobel Peace Laureate. He was targeted for that, but then putting the whole family in the prison was not simply because of his political movement or activism. It was actually because
Sorry, Wai Wai, we're gonna try to mute that person. Just give us a moment.
So it was actually because of who we are, being Rohingya in Myanmar. We were targeted, unlike many other politicians, we were targeted as a family. Even young children like me and my sister and my brother were put in jail for doing nothing. I spent 7 years in the prison and realized and came to understand everything that's happened to my community as well as in the country. And in 2012, after 7 years of imprisonment, we were lucky enough to be released with the presidential amnesty under so-called political transitions in 2011. And we thought, we will have a chance to contribute to the country's political change and bring democracy and freedom for all people in Myanmar. But then in 2012, there was the active campaign against my people, Rohingya, being outsiders, labeling them as outsiders, as threat, as bad people, and every worst thing that they could label. And there was violence occurred in Rakhine State, and then it spread throughout the country against many other Muslims, but specifically in Rakhine State. And I started to see it's getting worse. There wasn't any, the state, the country is denying what is happening to my people in Rakhine State and saying that they are the one attacking Buddhists, attacking the state, attacking, therefore we must protect our nations and kill all these people and drive them out. It was justification to launch brutal campaign against my people. And the violence didn't end in 2012, and it goes on to 2013, 14, and 15, and 16, and until 17, when the world came to know who is the Rohingya. The world came to realize something is going wrong in Rakhine State against the Rohingya populations. It was in 2016 and 17, they launched two major, Burmese military launched two major operations they call it as clearance operations, where about 1 million people become refugees, had to flee with nothing but their own clothes. Sometimes they can't even have the clothes on, and they just had to run. 1 million people become refugees in Bangladesh, where now they are residing as one of the largest refugee camps in the world. During this clearance campaign, people face an indescribable amount of horrifying brutality, from children being thrown to the fire or killed from their mother's hand and killed in front of them, and being raped. The brutal campaign, this usage of rape and gang rape as one of the unique way to terrorize, traumatize the entire populations. Women were raped in front of many other villagers gathering, who were gathered before that, and mutilized. And these victims and these victims of sexual violence are still in Bangladesh, and many were killed during that period. And about 400 villages were burnt within 2 months. And all these things happened within 2 months. And this, as I said, about 400 villages were burnt, and which is actually about 80% of Rohingyas' territory, or demography, or area in Rakhine State where Rohingya are residing. So basically, 2/3 of our populations has already been removed or expelled from our territory by alongside with brutal campaign against the human beings. And these people are still living in Bangladesh with no justice and living in very squalid camps, with the fear of, added to this existence trauma and suffering. The COVID-19 hit there in the camps, both in Rakhine and Bangladesh, as well as the fear of landslide and fire. Recently we had fire there, and with no security at all in Bangladesh. And again, whether at sea, in search of safety and dignity in neighboring countries, when they try to, when they find every possibility and opportunity to leave the country, to escape from Myanmar or in Bangladesh, only to be turned away onto the open sea, in mostly in this Andaman Sea area. You can read the news or have heard the news about people being, people even drinking their own urine on the sea, because there was no country to accept the boat, or rejected by those countries, in neighboring countries, whether in Thailand or in Malaysia. And that's the situation right now. And still, I must say that this happened because since I was released from the jail in 2012, since this violence happened, ever since I realized things are not going to the right directions for the country and for my people, I started my activism, founded Women's Peace Network, and we use every opportunity and strength and capacity we have to try to stop and mitigate hate and to advocate for the people, and so that we could stop the violence happening in Rakhine State and protect people, protect lives. And we did many programs in Myanmar on online campaign, offline campaign against hate and racism. We try to empower young people so that they can come out and protect themselves and their people. And we build this alliance and allies so that we can have people to talk and to stand for so that we can prevent genocide in Myanmar. As well as internationally, I've been talking to US government and many other governments that we need to end this atrocity crimes. We need to end this impunity. We need to hold perpetrators accountable. And we need to use all these measures available to protect people. We have, tools for the atrocity preventions. We have international obligations. We have the genocide conventions. The world did not listen. The failure to listen, the failure to act resulted this mass atrocities and ongoing and suffering of the people. And therefore, I feel like, it is unfair. Sometimes we need to go and talk everywhere and seek for help. Sorry, I'm being a little emotional. So I feel like sometimes it is unfair to go and talk and, plead for your, sorry. It's getting a little too much, I guess. It's unfair for the survivors and victims to go and talk all the time and plead for your mercy, while the world witnessed such atrocities in the past, in the Holocaust, or in Rwanda, or in Bosnia, or in Cambodia, and came to promise never again, but failed to act, to take actions and to protect people. Although it is unfair, I felt like, we must continue to do everything we can to protect people. And therefore, I appreciate for you all doing this and joining for this program. Oh my God.
Wai Wai, I just want to let you know that I'm going to put this on gallery view. And if you have not had a chance yet to do so, if everyone just clicks on the gallery view, and you can just see how many people are with you and support your people and support everyone who has spoken today. I know we've been in a spotlight for everyone sharing their story, but the whole point of Together We Remember is that we are here with you, we're for you. Everything that you're feeling is okay. There's a lot of healing work that we need to do. And I'm so grateful that you had the courage to share your story with us. Wai Wai, is there anything else that you would like to share with us before just look at everyone who's here with you? We're with you. Is there anything else that you would like to share before we wrap up and move on to our next speaker?
Yeah, sure. I think I will just end by telling you that I was listening to other speakers. They were highlighting the need to listen to the affected communities and understand the situations from their shoes and from their side. And I think that is crucial. The first thing you could do is listening to them and stand with them. And most of you live in the United States. You're living in a very you are privileged than many other people and communities around the world. You have so much power to do you can do many things. You know, the last thing you can do is, of course, learning about the issue and writing to your representative, and you know, contribute your time and your resources, your expertise, whatever you have, your knowledge, and everything you can. You know, you can go to Myanmar or Bangladesh, volunteer there, or you can work remotely and volunteer with organizations working there, and you know, give your time and your knowledge to the people, and of course your heart, and also you're welcome to join, you know, some of our effort. And I will send my organization's Women's Peace Network linked in the chat box. So feel free to join us, and feel free to contact me if you need anything, and if you want to know anything. Thank you very much.